Reality Check with Craig Price.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I'm an idiot.
4 minutes in and I'm already wrong.
I'm like a monkey. Hello, look at me. Craig, shut up.
Hey, I need you guys to do these things.
You're like a beautiful mind. I'm more like Forrest Gump. So it's...
Welcome to Reality Check with Craig Price. You probably can't tell by the voice, but this truly is Craig Price. I have not been replaced on my own show, though that could happen any day now. I am on the road. I am in Anaheim, California. I apologize for the voice. I have been in California for several days now at the National Speakers Association conference, and I have been talking nonstop for 4 days. Not only am I having conversations in the hallways with other speakers, I am at dinners, I am going to parties, I am going to events, I'm going to the breakout sessions and the general sessions and learning a lot of things there, but I'm also podcasting my brains out. I came in here early several days so I could get as many great experts, because I have access to all these great minds. Why not use it? Why not use that access? And I've got some great people lined up for the weeks ahead. But I'm not going to lie to you. The NSA convention can be a little bit of a freak show. It's a little weird walking around here. You see a lot of strange people wearing a lot of strange clothes. You've got, like Mark Eaton is a former basketball player, former center for the Utah Jazz. He's enormous. He's like 9 feet tall. He looks like a shaved Wookiee. Nice guy, sweet guy, but he's just so tall. When you hurt your neck looking to talk to him, and I'm sure he hurts his neck looking down to talk to us. But he's a really nice guy. We've got women walking around dressed to the nines in all one color, and it's usually a loud, bright pastel of some sort, like a lavender that pierces your eyeballs, or that green that really burns into your eyes. We've got people wearing propellers on their heads and suspenders, and there's a Sarah Palin impersonator wandering the halls, and then you've got people from other countries wearing traditional garb. It's quite an interesting event, as I call it, the freak show. But they're still unbelievably nice. All these so-and-so, quote, freaks, really nice people, wonderful people. Don't be afraid to approach them and talk to them. In fact, while I was here in Anaheim, one of the speakers is married to, I didn't know this, is married to Frank Oz. If you don't know Frank Oz, he is... Well, first off, if you don't know Frank Oz, you need to get educated quick. He is Miss Piggy. He is Yoda. He is a director of great movies like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which is hilarious with Steve Martin and Michael Caine. In and Out with Kevin Kline. And it was a thrill just to meet him. I didn't even expect to meet him. I didn't know he was going to be here. There he was. And I walked up to him, and I didn't want to bother him, but he was in a group, and it was really weird because he was in a group of 5 or 6 people, but they weren't talking to him, because I'm right at him going, that's Frank Oz. Oh my God. He has been an influence of millions of children, and he is the voice for nerds everywhere as Yoda. Why aren't they talking to him? Because he's married to a speaker, and they're talking to the speaker, and he's standing there nice and quietly, and I just walked up to him, I stood next to him for just a moment, and all the speakers looked at me. And I stayed still, and then they looked back, and as soon as I caught Frank's eye, I said, Mr. Oz, just want to take a moment to shake your hand and tell you how much you've meant to me in my childhood and in fact, my entire life with all the movies that you've done and working as the Muppets. And as you know, I'm sure you're well aware, you don't need me to tell you, but you have influenced in millions of children out there, and I want to let you know how much I appreciate the fact, all your work and all you've done. Then I shook his hand, and he looked at me kind of shocked that someone would walk up and say that many nice things to him. And he said he appreciated me talking to him. And then I just walked off, because I've learned that you don't need to sit there and hang and glom and take pictures and autographs. They don't need that. Everyone likes to be told how great they are, but there's a limit. And I never wanted to cross that limit with him and with all the celebrities that I've met. Harrison Ford, I did kind of go out of my way to push and shove to get him to sign an autograph. But with Frank Oz, these are the kind of things you'll meet in the hallways. You'll be walking through NSA, and you'll just see someone, Steve Sachs from the New York Yankees. It's like, that's Steve Sachs. I hope he doesn't throw a ball at me, but I'll be pretty safe because he can't hit first base. But he's a nice guy. I'm sure I'm going to get in trouble for that. The Yankees fans are going to call me. The Dodgers people are going to call me. But, I'm a Red Sox fan. I have to make fun of any Yankee I can. It's just the way it's in my blood. I have to. But while I'm here, I got access to the great people. The first one is John Schwartz. John is a great guy, and what he did is he bailed me out because I recorded a conversation with John and screwed it up. And I don't mean I screwed it up by swearing or did something stupid. I erased it it sounded horrible, and then I erased it because it just sounded awful. I screwed up the sound. And as soon as I told him that, I said, I screwed it up. I'm really sorry. I apologize. It's not going to be, I don't have time. We won't have time to put it on the show. It's just not going to happen. He said, when? I'll be glad to reschedule. We'll take out early from lunch and we'll go do it. And I was like, wow, you would do that? I didn't want to screw up his convention. He's got a lot of things scheduled. He was quick to jump to the chance to help me out, and he's bailing me out. And I really want you to focus on John because he does a character called Vinny Verelli, He is the Goomba guru of negativity management. He looks at negativity a little different than I do, but he comes at it at a humorous slant as a character. And he's the only speaker I know that does a character as a speaker. He checks into the hotels as Vinny Verelli. He uses his Vinny Verelli American Express card. He is Vinny Verelli at all times, to the point where at sometimes his wife will have to smack him at the house because he's talking like Vinny, and it's driving her crazy because she didn't marry Vinny Verelli. She married John Schwartz. But that kind of commitment to a character is interesting to me. The character, he's great, but the man behind the character, who created it? And that's why I wanted to talk about Frank Oz, because he is the man behind these characters, and it was much more interesting to meet him than to meet Yoda, unless I was actually on Dagobah, which will never happen. So having John there to talk about how a character was created, how he got into the business, I always found that fascinating. But he also did what everybody does here at NSA convention, at the National Speakers Association. He helped another speaker. And hopefully this podcast will help him out in some way. It certainly saved my butt, and I really appreciate it. So without any further ado, let me give you John Schwartz. What are you're trying to do sonar? Isn't it supposed to go boom, boom?
Well, in the older movies, the more movie they do the ping, but if you watched any of the old, like the Operation Petticoat in the 40s, it was always.
So you're going back a little ways.
Yeah, I'm a little older than you are.
A little, not much,
not much, not by much.
And so, we are here live. Because this is going up tomorrow, which will be today when you're listening to this. We're going to do a fast turnaround, never done before.
Oh, boy.
And I really appreciate we got Jonathan Schwartz here. John, I'm glad you're here because you're one of the few speakers that I know of. And I've known of a couple who are impersonators, we had a guy in our chapter that was Ben Franklin. You know, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You don't do that. You do characterization. You are a character.
I am a character as opposed to someone who is a recreator.
Right, you're not a cut up either. You are, but I mean, when I say character, you mean
cut out.
You have developed a character as a speaker.
That is correct.
Because you don't speak, Vinny Verelli speaks.
Vinny does it.
And so, where did the Vinny come from?
Vinny originated. My wife and I were running an entertainment company in Atlanta, Georgia. We were doing theme party entertainment for corporate events. I get a call one afternoon. Client says, we are having a sales meeting. It's our managers, our worldwide management company, and it's a small group, and we were wanting to hire a actor to pretend to be a motivational speaker. And I said, okay, that sounds interesting. And they said, we're going to feed him information. We're going to lampoon some of the people who are in the audience. And it was great. I mean, they were going to pay me $500. So I said, whoa.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching. I'm in, so. And I invented this character, Vinny Verelli, to be sort of a motivational speaker and came up with the concept of negativity management. And at that time, this was before NSA, and I don't know if I could say this on your blog, but my two-step program was get off your ass and do something.
That was the tamest we've had of you're going to be the first one from these NSA chronicles, I like to call them. Mm-hmm. That was the tamest thing we've had so far.
Oh, okay, well, I don't know who else.
Wait till you hear Anastasia and you hear Jessica Pettit.
Okay.
There's a lot. There's some more than that. Was very nice.
But I was
told. Feel free to say anything you want.
Okay.
Though. So
you can always cut it later.
I'm unfiltering. You can whatever you feel comfortable with.
Okay.
Because if you want to say the F word, go for it. If you want to just say whatever you want, go for it.
Vinny, although he's a tough guy from New York, he doesn't really ever drop the F-bomb anywhere, although I was told by a union group in New Jersey if I did, it'd be okay. It'd make you feel more comfortable. They would...
Yeah, because, up in the Northeast, where I'm from, the F-bomb is punctuation.
Exactly.
It's a comma.
It's a comma.
It's instead of taking a breath, F word.
F word.
So So,
expletive. So I was
$500 bucks.
$500 to do this speech, and I created the character Vinny. And once I got an NSA, the ass became a butt. I had to lose my ass. So,
which is weird because
I've
been.
It
That's
still
all
looks big.
Well, yeah. I don't think you've lost it. You just misplaced it.
Misplaced.
You might want to look behind you. But I've been hearing rat's ass on the main platform.
yeah, shit-faced. Brian Tracy said shit-faced.
And we've officially gone explicit here on the podcast. But yeah, he said that.
But that was a quote. That was a quote from Brian Tracy. People quote Brian Tracy all the time.
I do. He's got one thing about negativity in his sales thing, and that I use. I can't do it off the top of my head, but yeah. Then there's the Falkland Islands that
oh yeah,
Rizzo did.
That is one of the funniest routines ever. So they should Google the Falkland Islands.
Steve Rizzo.
See if Rizzo has it on YouTube anywhere. I mean, I don't. It's
but $500 when you're running an agency and you're not. You don't. This is before you even started speaking. That's a lot of change.
That was a lot of change. This is like 15 years ago too, and the average amount of money I would be getting in those days for going out and doing a character thing would be $125, $200, maybe $250. I didn't realize at the time that I'd be spending so much time putting the speech together. But once I had it, it was material that I kept, on the back burner, and every so often somebody would say, I tried to push it because I had so much fun doing that event. They just laughed so much at the personal stuff that I was doing about them. They were very good at giving me the information I needed to turn around and make it funny for them. And that's also how I learned how to, customize for other presentations, knowing that the best material I ever do at an event now as Vinny is when I'm being personal and bringing up names of people they know or applications that they're using and having fun with it.
So where did Vinny come from, though? I mean, they said we need a character. It's not necessarily the first one I would go to is a quote-unquote Italian-American gangster.
Right. Portrayed by a Jewish guy from Cincinnati. I was writing murder mysteries at the time, and we were working on one called Mobster MASH. And it was all New York mobsters. There was an Italian crime family and a Jewish crime family. There was the Morgensterns and the Rossettis or whatever. I can't remember the exact names. And so we were always walking around talking like this. Everybody's talking like this the whole time.
It's fun to do.
Yeah.
Hey, I do it, you do it, we do it, they do it.
So when we were writing it, we would always write it in that voice. And then, of course, when you rehearsed it in voice. And when you performed it in that voice. So it was an accent I knew that I could probably sustain for a while, because there were murder mysteries we did where we had international characters. We do this wine murder mystery, and there were people from different countries. And if I'm talking to the French character, before long I am talking in that French accent, and I cannot lose it. But, oh, no, I'm not supposed to be French. And then I'm talking to the guy with the British accent, and all of a sudden I'm talking in a British accent. And you would have to switch it around, so I was afraid to do another accent or just... I didn't want to be Georgia because I don't look like I'm from Georgia.
No, you do not like, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, well,
because I've met some people from Georgia. The ladies look nice. The guys from Georgia, all I can say is deliverance.
Ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding. Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely give off. But that's the other thing is you look the character. So you kind of that was another
It was
natural
believable,
asset.
right? So when I first started speaking, they didn't know how to take it. They thought I was a real motivational speaker, and then I started coming up with these pretty strange ideas for turning negative situations into positive situations, and just having a lot of fun. And then when I started talking about them, they knew that I was a plant. But at that point, I had them hooked. And they were just laughing and hanging on. And I had so much fun doing it that I took out ads to try to, all I have to do is put an ad in the Atlanta Visitors Convention Bureau, and, they will just knock my door down. 2 years of running a $1,500 ad, and, that's 4 times what I was getting paid for my speech. I did my math wrong. That's 5, 15, and 15 is 3. That's 6 times what I was getting paid. And not a single nibble. It's just realizing at that point that advertising is a waste of your money.
Well, and I've noticed that on some, with Google AdWords for myself. It's, you spend all that money, if you don't put it in the right spot, the right keyword, or pay the good money to get up there, you're just putting money out into the ether, and it's really not coming back.
Yeah, and then that way you also don't know how many of your competitors are going on there and clicking on your website.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that because I'm not high enough up. But I don't have any competitors. They're too far above me. But So you got the character. Now, did you develop like a backstory? I mean, because I know you come from an acting and background. So did you really? How deep into Vinny did you get?
It was a total backstory with Vinny, where he went to school, the fact that he dropped out of school, and even, there's stuff that I say now in my presentation that I created, 15 years ago, but didn't even put into that speech. And then stories now that I do are based on some of that backstory and where I went to school, how I grew up. In this whole organization, I even had flyers and pamphlets made up for APEN, which stood for Accentuate the Positive, Eliminate the Negative. And the concept was, it's okay, not only do you have to work on positive, but you have to eliminate the negative, because that's the thing that people are going to remember. Positive things are fleeting.
Oh yeah, people definitely. I mean, you know me. I speak on negativity,
right? And we stew in our negative thoughts, and it brings us down. But so if you can control or manage,
because you can't eliminate negativity.
No, you can't. And so that was one of the things I originally said. The ultimate goal, of course, of negativity management is to eliminate all the negative things that are in your life. And for some of you, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah. You may be married to that negative thing.
So until the time that you can eliminate the negative, you have to learn to manage it.
Yeah.
And then I did some examples of how APEN is a group of concerned citizens in New York working together to try to help the image.
Like the Women's Coalition Against the Prohibition or something like that, the Women's League or something.
And we have very creative ways of solving problems. Take the homeless issue, for instance. And the homeless problem in New York is very difficult. It's terrible. It's like running the low hurdles sometimes. So we figure, it's a lot cheaper to build homeless shelters than it is to build jails. So that is the cornerstone, is we have these new homeless shelters that are clean, that are comfortable, that are on Staten Island.
Yeah,
and in that way, unless the homeless person's a strong swimmer, you're not going to see him in the city.
It's Alcatraz.
Exactly. So that was my definition of a compassionate conservative. Yeah, homeless shelters, but on Staten Island.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. That's a good idea. Maybe we should put that up for the assembly in New York.
Yeah. We had other things like that. We looked at the Constitution. The Sixth Amendment says, no cruel and unusual punishment. It says and, not or.
So you can pick or choose.
We have some unusual punishments we think will be real deterrents to crime.
And other ones are very cruel. Not so unusual.
Not so unusual.
Gee, that's good. So you were able to take a lot of that stuff, because I mean, you come from an entertainment background.
Correct.
So that's one of the key things that is often missing in the speaking world. Mm-hmm. And you see that there's really good speakers, but there was someone I saw recently who's very informative, but it went a full hour without any audience response. So it wasn't a laugh or a gasp or anything. There was no noise.
Well, now that we've been at this convention for a couple of days, where we have callbacks, we can say, well, look, Scott McCain says all business is show business.
Yes.
If somebody wanted just content, let them buy the book. Regardless of how much content versus humor you are in your presentation, if you're not entertaining, if you can't engage the audience, you've lost your audience.
Well, absolutely. And you were fortunate, because coming from the entertainment background, where did you, you had the entertainment business, but how did you get into entertainment? Because what happens is you started off with the one key skill that most people don't have, and it's one of the most important ones, is that you're engaging. Because people could become experts, and they got the CEO of a company and they want him to speak, but he could be awful speaker because he's not engaging. He may have all the content, but again, like you said, no one's going to listen. But you started off, you're very lucky, like myself. I had the engaging. So you started off with engaging. Where did that entertainment background start?
Well, as a kid, I was always, the class clown. Growing up, I always wanted to have the attention on me. Used to get me into a lot of trouble.
Oh, no, I can't see that
at
all.
Oh. But
still gets you in trouble.
Oh, still does. Yeah, but I can do it as Vinny, and it's okay. Oh, that's not John doing that. That's Vinny doing that. So I don't get in trouble. But I started doing more acting in elementary school. We used to write sketches, and we would go in the 5th and 6th grade, go to the other 6th grade classes and do these sketches and make kids laugh, and that's what it was all about. Started doing actual plays in junior high school and then high school. But when I got into college, it was time to settle down. I went ahead. I have a degree in marketing. I did, and after
another additional thing that is extremely valuable as a speaker.
Oh yes,
that you're engaging, and now you know some marketing, so you should have a pretty good leg up.
Well, marketing. When I went to, graduated college in '71, so things have changed a little bit since then. in
Yeah, I
marketing.
wasn't even born then, so and I feel old, so that ought to tell you. But so you got the marketing degree, but you were a Florida guy, weren't you?
Went to the University of Florida.
So those are Seminoles or the Gators?
Gators.
Okay, so yeah,
Seminoles or Gators.
this is the one thing. I live in Texas, and they get all big stink about Texas A&M and Texas University, and gig 'em and horns, and it's like
But they always lose. If you pay
but nobody
attention at all,
cares.
the Gators win all the time.
Yeah, well, they used to.
That's true.
Tim Tebow was with Gators, wasn't he?
There you can catch me.
Oh,
there,
see,
because
now all of a sudden,
I know nothing because I was too much on drugs when I was in college. I didn't care about
well,
football.
no, Tim Tebow was recent. So
Okay, well,
he
forget
was
about it.
Okay, so you
See, I stopped buying music when the Beatles broke up, so I'm not really current on a lot of things.
Again, I believe that
and
was
I
before
don't
was-
tweet. I'm sorry.
That was before I was born.
Yes.
Yeah. No, Vinny tweets.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't?
No.
You don't have at Vinny Verelli?
I have at Vinny Verelli.
Because I saw someone use it because you were
Right, and
friends.
someone has, I actually have people who are following me, but I'm saying, hey, dude, you're going to be standing there a long time waiting to follow me anyway.
You got it. You're perfect. 140 characters. You need to start tweeting, man.
Vinny can't say anything in 142 characters.
That's not true. It's not MySpace. It's not. It's. What did you do the whole social media thing? It's not.
Oh yeah, it's not my. Well, I actually started breaking them up. I wanted to, if I was going to tweet, I wanted to have a series of tweets that I could actually do. So I started writing down tweets. I haven't tweeted them yet.
Right.
Or twitted
You're
them. What do you
collecting-
do? I mean, I'm collecting twits. I don't know.
Believe me, I'm collecting twits, but I believe they're called followers.
Followers.
But no, it's
See,
tweeting.
to me, that the whole thing about following, though, it seems like that's a real. If someone's going to follow you,
Well, it's the only thing they can.
Seems like it's a very
Subservient.
Well, not well. It's puts pressure on the person being followed. You got to lead them to the right place. You don't want, followers. I mean, people follow Jesus, but I mean, he's their savior. What am I? Follow me. But people like you. They follow you. They're connected to you, and now they got the circles. I just feel like a circle jerk.
Yeah, that's a good one. Are you going to add that one to your?
I should.
You
I
should.
could have used it yesterday, I guess.
Yeah, because you could. I think you can add that without it getting too. You wouldn't be. It's one of those things that would if you said it just by itself would be offensive, but in the context,
the context
it's
of
funny.
everything of social media.
Look at that! I am
work.
helping you out as we speak. It was
Right.
worth it just to come on.
But of
just
course,
for
this is going up tomorrow. By the time I get home and put it in anything someone else is already using.
that. No, it'll be fine.
because no
I'll
one
remind
listens
you,
to these anyway.
Oh, no
right?
one's listening. Don't worry about it. No one's listening. So you got, but you did theater in Florida, and so
Theater at the University of Florida, and actually, I had joined this business fraternity, and I was very serious, and I was on my way to a business meeting to meet some recruiters from IBM and Bell South, and wearing a three-piece suit, and saw a poster for auditions for the play Dracula, and it was a play that I did in high school, and I said, God, wouldn't it be fun to do a play here in college? So instead of going left towards where my business meeting was, I turned right towards the theater, and because they were in the same complex, and went to this audition in a three-piece suit, and boy, did I look out of place.
oh, I'm sure. Well, this was if you graduated in '71.
Right. Well, this was 1969.
There you go,
And yeah, it was just everybody they were hippies.
Oh yeah,
and,
just stinky patchouli smelling the hippies.
Right.
Because that's the theater people. Even and quite frankly, they still haven't washed up now. When I was in the theater in the '90s, they're very there's some of the theater people that were hippies are still kind of don't understand what a shower is.
Well, I don't see. I think that's a stereotype. We used to.
It is a
shower all the
stereotype,
time.
but-
in my day, we used to shower together. The whole thing.
Yeah.
Save water, shower with a friend. That was one of our slogans.
No,
in the '60s, that was a big thing.
Okay, so you went to the audition, and you're
Went to
looking
the
up.
audition, I actually got cast. And
Now was it a
I
main
wouldn't be-
part or was it a?
It was a small cast, so all the parts were pretty big. I was like the straight man. I played the ingenue, I guess,
Because of the suit.
the suit. So I was like the boyfriend of Lucy, who had been
Oh yeah,
bitten
yeah,
by
yeah,
Dracula.
yeah. Right. And I was going to say that being once you get that big role or at least a medium-sized role, because if you had been in the chorus, I'm not sure you would have gotten the bug as deep.
Well, there was no real chorus.
That's what I'm saying,
part
but I
in this
mean-
particular thing, if I wouldn't have got, yeah, you're right, I would. But the people I met in that show are still friends of mine today. I still know them and visit. Some people live in New York, some are in Gainesville, working at a theater down there in Gainesville, Florida. And it was great. I met all these interesting people who were so much more entertaining and interesting than the people wearing three-piece suits in my business fraternity. So I went ahead, because my mother would never have forgiven me. I went ahead and got my degree in marketing and then went back to get a degree in theater and started doing more and more shows, getting leads in shows at that point, getting awards for my acting in shows, and just having the greatest old time. And in 1972, I started a company called Bacchus Productions, which is still in existence today. It's had many incarnations, and it's metamorphosized. Did I say that right?
No, but that's okay.
It's become many different things.
It has turned into
evolved.
Yeah.
Let's say it is evolved.
It's the thesaurus hour here with Craig Price.
Right.
We'll just pick up another word for metamorphosize.
Right, yeah, we can punch that in later. So it was a company. The first thing we did was we got a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities, and we took a production of Waiting for Godot and toured it to 13 state prisons. And as a humanities grant, part of the proposal was once the production was over, we had a dialogue with the prisoners. They would come forward. We'd sit there at the edge of the stage, and we would talk to them about the show.
Because if there's one audience that I think is starving for
absurd theater,
for spin-off theater of Shakespeare characters,
right?
And the first thing I think of is prisons.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I mean, it's the first thing.
The response was incredible. It really was. And we were told, and we used to get letters from the people in the prison.
I believe they're called convicts. The people in the prison, like the administrators and the guards, or the people who were forced to sit and watch?
Those who were only came to watch over and over again. But see, they knew all about waiting, and to them, to the Godot for them, I don't know how many people are familiar. It's not really.
No, we're a classy group. We have a lot. We're film studies theater people. So go right ahead.
Oh, okay. So, and we toured this after we did the prison tour. We started touring it to other theaters and universities in Florida, and we even took it to Atlanta and played a theater there for several days. Got incredible reviews, and actually got a postcard, and I don't know where it is this day, from Samuel Beckett, who at the time was living in France, sent us a card. And it was like, whoa, we couldn't figure out who it was from and who was sending us something from France, and it turned out to be Samuel Beckett. We finally figured out the name at the bottom. But that was when we were doing theater, trying to really change the world and well, at least change prisoners one.
Yeah, well, I mean, you didn't get to finish because you said because the Waiting for Godot really resonated with them because
they know all about waiting. Yeah, because Godot for them is like getting parole, getting out. And in the play, people wait for Godot to come, but he doesn't show up. Well, he'll be here tomorrow. We'll come back here tomorrow. We'll do this all over again. And the second act happens, and it starts off again. They're still waiting for Godot, and some other people come by, and they don't. Do you have a message from Godot? No. And it's the theater of the absurd. And
but to them, that's their daily life.
That is their daily life, waiting for something, or and we got one letter from somebody, one of the inmates, who was very upset. He felt that we had a lot of nerve to come there to illustrate he called it their internal pain, knowing if for some of us Godot will never come, because that guy obviously is a lifer. He's not getting out of jail. I mean, he was obviously well enough behaved because out of 1,500 inmates at Rayford Prison, only 300 were not in solitary, and those were the ones who were allowed. It was a maximum security prison, and these are the trustees. These are the ones who were allowed to go to an event.
These are the ones that are not going to kill you.
Although many of them were
no, they may be murderers, but they've proven that's why they call them trustees,
right?
Because these are the ones they have been in situations where they know that they're not going to be violent, or they assume they behaved themselves for so long that
I'm sure there was a big pat down before they got in. There was nothing because we were from as close
and I'm
from
sure
me to you when we were talking.
And we're about a foot and a half. I'm sure it was difficult for you to leave too. I'm sure you had a pat down as well.
Oh yeah,
probably, where are you going, sir?
Yeah, yeah, especially me. Excuse me. And it was an amazing experience.
No,
we
it sounds
did that for
like
a year's time and got national recognition for that. And we decided, we're going to go to New York now with this, and we're going to take New York by storm. And then when you got to New York City, you realized that there was no shortage of theater companies trying to produce shows in New York.
Every other basement in New York is filled with huddled with 6 to 7 people who have aspirations to be the next big, huge theater.
Right. Let's put on a show.
Yeah, it's always like that. I mean, I saw the Fantastics in a theater that had to be smaller than the hotel room we're in right here, recording in the round,
Right.
because it was the only way they could position to get the maximize the seating and all that. And it was a couple people. There was no scenery. There was the only thing the guy had was the little bandera to make him
Right.
so we knew
I'm El Gallo.
Yeah,
Right.
he knows. We know who he is.
Right.
And so, but everybody else, and they didn't really have costumes. It was but that is happening 80 times in one night in New York City.
All over, right.
And same with stand-up. Everywhere you go, there's a coffee shop and there's a room that's available where there's a bookstore where somebody is doing stand-up.
Open mics everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere, bring a show. So it is tough when you get to New York. A lot of people think that they're going to make it or break it, and most of the time they break it.
Definitely breaking is, but it's true. If you can make it there, like the song says, you can pretty much make it anywhere.
But if you don't make it there, you can learn a lot.
You can learn a lot and go to Boise and be a star.
There you go. And so you took your stuff you went to Georgia.
I ended up going on cruise ships first.
Oh, that's fun.
Going from the theater in New York, I got involved with a mime company and toured the country with the Claude Kipnis Mime Theater for a number of years.
Not a lot of people proudly state their mimes. Like I said, it's one of the few things we have in common.
Right.
I was a 12-year-old in a mime company, the Kitchen Sink Mime Company, and we traveled around schools doing mime. It was like the Mime Olympics, and we would recreate all these sports things and then teach the two adults that were in charge would teach the students, but they brought us along to show that students could do it. And it was the most embarrassing fun time I've ever had.
Yeah, the first time
with
I did
my clothes
mime,
on.
Right.
I've had a lot of embarrassing fun times with clothes off.
At the University of Florida, we had a group, and we called ourselves the Flying Pastas. And it was we did bizarre and comical mimes, and we performed in the little bar that they had on campus. And I was always interested in doing mime, and I started taking classes in New York. I went to Poland and studied with the Tomaszewski and also with Grotowski, those of you who are into theater. And you talk about doing plays without props, without costumes. This is what Grotowski wrote in his book, Towards a Poor Theater.
So you're not screwing around with this stuff.
No.
I mean, you're deep. Who would know that John Schwartz went so deep? But again, that's why I love what I do with this podcast, because you meet people who are just, like you wouldn't even know that, knowing that you do Vinny Verelli, that you're going to Poland to
study mime and theater, and then getting a chance to work with Tennessee Williams in the world premiere production of Tiger Tail at the Hippodrome in Gainesville, and then getting a chance to perform at Carnegie Hall with the Claude Kipnis Mime Theater, performing with Michael Tilson Thomas and the Buffalo Philharmonic. We would do mime pieces to classical music, and there were often times when we were playing to full symphony orchestras as our not just a cassette tape that we would travel with, and if we didn't have a 60, 70 piece orchestra, we would put the cassette tape on. Yeah. But we played with the Boston Pops, we played with different symphonies all over the country.
And so that got you onto the cruise ships.
Got me onto the ships. I met my wife on a cruise ship.
Mermaid?
She was with a review group out of New York, and we met, fell in love, went back to New York, put together an act, and then went back out on cruise ships as a double act. And then I was working as cruise director, and it was, and this is what led us to go back to Atlanta to create our own entertainment company. And for 20 years, we produced Theme Party Entertainment in Atlanta, doing dance productions, costume characters, interactive murder mysteries.
And so you got that depth of, like I said, the engaging part.
Yeah.
But I don't want people to think that you don't have content, but you didn't have that much content when you started. So how did you start realizing, well, I got to get some information, because it's fun to have a guy who's going to, hey, how you doing, guys? And that's great, and it's entertaining, and it has value in itself. But when you start doing corporate gigs, they want a little bit more, don't they?
Well, at first they didn't care. There was always a slot where they wanted to have humor.
Right.
But now, with the economy the way it is, they feel they got to have ROI. They go, this big ROI thing.
Return on investment.
Yeah. So I started adding a content there. I had people who were telling me, you're funny, but all you have to do, if you add a little content, you can raise your fee.
Yeah, and also you're giving them what they want. Not only a message, not only entertainment, but entertainment with a message, so they have a walk away.
But yeah, and what I like to do is I have a very simple message, because motivation is all the same regardless of who's talking about motivation. And I love Jeffrey Gitomer's session today. He says, you're not a motivational speaker? What's that?
Yeah, well,
And really, what is it?
and people
Nobody-
recoil in horror now when you say,
Oh, you're a motivational speaker.
Oh, do you know? We don't want a motivational speaker. That's what people hire me,
Right.
because they'll say, "Oh, we had a motivational speaker last year. They were awful.
Right.
You don't do motivational stuff," because they see my topic and they go, "Well, it's very interesting, but it's not. Is it that weird motivational salesy stuff?" I'm like, not even close.
Yeah, but I mean, in motivation, yet still people will put that into a search. You know,
Right.
When people are looking for me, they're usually looking for a humorist yet motivational speaker. They don't want just a humorist. They don't want a comic. They want someone who has content to them. If they're doing humor and content, they're thinking, well, we don't get a funny guy to tell us how to do sales, yet the best sales presenters have enough humor in their presentation to keep their audience awake.
Yeah, absolutely excited. That's why I don't market myself as a humorist, because then they think you're a comedian.
Right.
Well,
I
there are
try to-
humorists out there, and,
Yeah.
and it works great for them. I don't do it because my topic's heavy, and if they think I'm a comedian, even though I tell them I'm a comedian up front, it's just it kind of reduces their credibility.
But you used to do stand-up. I never did stand-up.
But you did.
I was always doing humor. I was always being funny in what I did.
Right.
I always did comic plays, and I always played the comic character
That's
in
comedy.
serious plays.
It's all the umbrella of comedy. A lot of
Even
people-
doing Shakespeare, I was the porter. I was the comic relief in a Shakespeare play.
Yeah, you don't have to do stand-up to be in
It'd
comedy.
be humorous or
Yeah.
to be funny. So this was a big deal to me. What am I going to do with content? But my content is so simple. So what I try to do is find out from them, what is your message? What do you want? And I'll incorporate and customize the client's image of what message they want to get out. So this is what I'll tell them, because my basic concept is, I talk about the bada bing philosophy. And it's
What's the bada bing?
The bada bing is 1 maxim, 2 steps, and 3 simple tools. And the maxim is, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. And I base everything on that. And I'm not saying if you're not having fun, don't do it, because that's quitting.
Well, yeah, when you have a job to do, people are paying
right.
you.
But yeah, and no matter how boring or distasteful a job is, there's a way to do that job that is still safe for you, that can be more fun for you. And so that's my message, is to try to find some humor in it. And if you're doing something very serious, find enough time in the day to have fun, because all work and no play makes, what is that?
Jack a dull boy.
Jack a dull boy, whatever. So
Yeah, but
so that's my message.
Yeah.
And it's simple. And to do that, in terms of motivation, it's 2 steps. Just get off your butt and do something. That's the same thing. The one thing that carried over from 15 years ago
There
when
you go.
Vinny did his first speech. And the third thing is the tools that you use to achieve this are the F factor. And the F's, not that F.
I know, not the big F.
Not the big F. The F's are for fun, focus, and fervor. And fervor is an F word that means, passion. And people say, well, why didn't you just use the word passion? Because it doesn't begin with an F.
It's called alliteration,
It's
folks.
gonna be
Work
F
with me.
factor.
Work with me.
Yeah, I paid Sam Horn a lot of money to tell me how to do alliteration. So I have the fun, focus, and fervor. And the fun ties right back in. First and foremost, you got to have fun. That's the maxim. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. But fun without focus is frivolous.
Now you're starting to get a little more F's going.
You got more F's. Well, I even end the whole presentation with saying, so if you find your focus, you'll fuel your fervor. Something else. Fuel your fervor. You find your focus. If you're having enough fun, you'll find your focus, fuel your fervor, and finish in fantastic form.
Fantastic.
Find a way to get more F's in that phrase. Phone me.
There you go. Now, we're running out of time, and I really appreciate you taking the time out, but I know you have a brand new project that you really have a passion for,
yeah.
and it's called
Cooking with Vinny.
Now, explain exactly what this is and what your goal with the Cooking with Vinny is.
Well, when you live in New York City as an actor, there's not a lot of time that you spend acting. You work at your craft by taking classes and things, but most of the time is spent either being a waiter or a cook in one of the thousands of restaurants in New York City. So I worked as a chef for a number of years, and I love cooking. And what I'm doing now is taking the 2 of my passions, cooking and being the center of attention, and doing cooking videos that I'm posting on a blog, putting them up on YouTube first, because you got to use YouTube. That's the search engine of the future. In a couple of years, it'll outpace Google for search engines. I'm finding that people are finding me more and more on YouTube than using Google as a search engine for me. Yeah.
Wow.
So you have to have video up there. And
I'm one of those because I come from a film studies background.
Right.
So for me, not only is it the content and what's happening and the blocking and how, but it's the quality of the video. And with YouTube videos, they're so grainy and choppy. And, but yours are not. But I mean,
but there's a way to do it. I mean,
yeah.
and because you have the background, you've got good sound. You know how to put good sound. So many people do, even if the video is clear, because it's so easy to get a cheap, high-definition camera.
It is getting better. It's gotten a lot better.
They're in their own room, and they're using the camera on the microphone on the little camera.
Yeah.
And, with this sound system you have here, with very good sound.
Oh, wait
you
till you hear Scott McCain on this. Oh, my God.
God, you had Scott McCain up here? Was he sitting in this chair?
Yes, he was.
Oh, I'm getting wet.
Well, thankfully, we don't have any electricity over there. But no, we talked to Scott's great. I met him.
His voice is like silk.
It's like velvet.
It is velvet.
But yeah, what do you focus? I'm assuming you're going to start doing Italian dishes because you have to.
Start off doing some Italian dishes, but I'm doing like Italian Georgia fusion because I live in the South, so I'm doing pimento cheese, which is basically the national dish of
pimento loaf. Is that the other one you're going to do?
The pimento loaf, or the olive loaf. But pimento cheese, but I'm putting horseradish in it, and I'm putting things that are, pimentos that are not just out of a jar, but the ones you roast yourself, like you'd see in a nice, good Italian restaurant. So I'm doing, and right now I'm cooking things that are coming out of the garden, but I do it local vegetables with a New York kind of twist to it. So
not just Italian. You're just kind of get.
Just cooking things that I like. Or I was over at a friend's house and we had squash coming up for days, so I made squash casserole. So I can make this either gluten free or with gluten, dairy free, and so I do a variation because someone asked me to put up a gluten free recipe. So I took this. Okay, leave out the cornbread stuffing, which is very Southern, and take rice chips and grind them up and make the breadcrumbs with that.
Well, now I'm even more excited that because I want, as people will know as we go along, I screwed up a bunch of interviews this trip. And I talked to Kirsten Carey, who's another guest that's going to be coming about gluten-free.
Kirsten's the one who said, put up a gluten-free recipe video, and she'll post it on her website because she owns a restaurant in the Phoenix area.
And she will be on next week. She's on the podcast next week.
Oh, great.
So look at you. You're already teasing next week's episode. You're awesome.
Wow.
You are a true professional. So where can we find you? Not only just cookingwithvinny.com.
Cookingwithvinny.com. If you go on Facebook, it's facebook.com/cookingwithvinny, or my website, motivatethis.net.
.net, which is the key, because you're building a network of Goombas.
That plus .com was taken, and they want too much money to sell it to me.
See, that's the reality I'm talking about. John, thank you very much for being here. I hope people get to know you more, because you are better than Vinny, even though Vinny is awesome. Well, that's our show. I want to thank Vinny for being on the show. I want to thank, more importantly, John Schwartz for being on the show. Remember, you can always find us at realitycheckpodcast.com. You can check out the RSS feed, join the newsletter. If you have any guest suggestions, you can always email me at craig@speakercraigprice.com. And, of course, if you have any comments, go to the website, go to the specific podcast, and leave me a comment. We'd love to hear from you.